Course 3, Lesson 50, we are looking at our equations once again, being able to solve them, and using those inverse operations to do more than one step. So, two-step equation, we need two steps. So, remember that we have our inverse operations. We say addition, subtraction are inverses, multiplication, division. If you encounter it, squaring and square rooting, things like that are inverses. They undo each other. But when we are doing multi-step equations, we must undo the addition and subtraction first, and then go on to the multiplication, division, and then go on to things like exponents. What we're doing here is actually undoing it based on going PEMDAS backwards. Okay, so PEMDAS backwards. So let's try these out. We have 7 equals 2y minus 3. Well, if we want to get rid of the addition subtraction first, I need to get rid of this negative 3. Well, in order to get rid of a subtraction, I need to add it to each side. So I add 3 and get 10 equals 2y. Okay, now that I've gotten rid of my addition subtraction, I can get rid of multiplication division. Well, since I have 2 times y here, the way to get rid of multiplication is division, so I divide by 2 and get y is equal to 5. How do we know if this is right? Well, we can plug it in and say, let's make sure that 5 is correct. So we say 7 is equal to 2 times 5 minus 3. We get 10 minus 3, and yes, that does equal 7. So our answer is correct. Let's try this one. Once again, we have subtraction. We need to get rid of it first. So I add 15 to each side, and I get x divided by 9 is equal to 27. Now, since I have division, means I need to multiply to get rid of it. So I multiply each side by 9. And I say x is equal to, let's see, 27 times 9 is 243. And I could plug it back into my equation to check. 243 divided by 9 minus 15 is equal to 12. Well, 243 divided by 9 is 27. Take away 15, and that does equal 12. So my answer is correct. Let's try some other ones. Negative x plus 15 is equal to 12. Well, I need to do any addition first, so I subtract 15 to get rid of that added 15. And I get negative x is equal to negative 3. Now, it may look like this is done, we're good, x is by itself, but it's really not, because negative x is not the same thing as x. And so in order to get a positive x, I can do one of two things. Technically, what we have here is a negative 1 times x. So in order to get rid of multiplication, I can divide by negative 1. And I get x, because negative divided by negative is positive, and negative 3 divided by negative 1 is a positive 3. The other way to think about this is if I have a negative x equaling negative 3, I can also multiply by negative 1 on each side, because a negative times a negative is a positive, and we get the same result. So we need to make sure that our x is by itself and that it is a positive x. When we plug this back in, we see, all right, I have a negative x, which is now 3, plus 15 equals 12. And yes, minus 3 and negative 3 plus 15 is 12. Okay, negative 10 minus r equals negative 20. Well, that negative 10, that's like subtracting by a 10, so I need to add 10 to each side. And so I have negative r is equal to, well, minus 20 plus 10 is a negative 10, and I do the same thing I did on the other side. You can either multiply or divide by a negative 1, and I get that r is equal to 10. And we plug it back in and see negative 10 minus r, which is now 10, is equal to negative 20. And yes, if I have negative 10 minus another 10, I do get negative 20. All right, let's try this. Suppose a taxi charges $1.20 to start a ride plus $3 per mile. If a ride costs $5.40, how far was the ride? Let x represent the distance traveled in miles. So when we do this, our total is going to be $5.40. But how did we get there? Well, initially, we're always going to be charged $1.20, regardless of how far we go. Even if we go 0 miles, we're going to have to pay that $1.20 in this problem. And then we're going to have to add $3 for every mile that we go. And we're representing miles as x. And that's what we see in our equation. 3x plus 120 equals 540. So when we go to solve this, well, I need to get rid of addition first. So I subtract 120. And I have 3x is equal to $4.20. And I divide by 3. And I get x is 1.8, I believe. So, or 1.4, sorry about that, 1.4. So, when we get this, we see that, well, we've gone 1.4 miles to have to pay that $5.40. A computer repair shop charges $40 per hour plus the cost of parts. If a repair bill is $125, that includes $35 worth of parts. How long did the repair shop work on the computer? Well, once again, our total is $125. And we're saying that $35, regardless of how long they work on the computer, we're still going to pay the $35 in parts, plus $40 per hour that they work on the computer. That's what we see our equation is. So when we go to solve it, we are going to subtract 35 and get 40x is equal to 90, divide by 40, and see that they worked on the computer for 2.5 hours. That's how long they had to work on the computer to get it back up and running, and it would cost me $125. So really quickly, I'm going to show how to do these. Not a ton of explanation, but you can try them out on your own. Pause the video so that you can see if you know how to do these. 2x minus 5, add 5. So we get 2x is equal to 14. Divide by 2, and we get x is equal to 7. On the right side, we need to combine like terms. I have a 3x and a minus x, which means I get 2x plus 4 is equal to 28. We subtract 4, and we get 2x is equal to 24. Divide by 2, and x is equal to 12. 3x plus 5, we subtract 5. So 3x is equal to 45. Divide by 3. And x is equal to 15. 4x minus 12, add 12 to each side. 4x is equal to 72. Divide by 4. And x is equal to, let's see, 72 divided by 4 is 18. All right, next one, 30n plus 22 equals 292. I subtract 22. I get 30n is equal to 270. Divide by 30. And we get n is equal to 9. And lastly, we subtract 4. And we have x divided by 5 is equal to 9. We multiply by 5 on each side. And we get x is equal to 45. All right, here are a bunch of other ones that you can try. All right, I'll do them really quick. Negative 2x plus 17, I'm going to subtract 17 on each side. We get negative 2x is equal to a negative 14. Divide by negative 2, and we get x is equal to a positive 7. Next one, we add 1.5. We get 3m is equal to 5.7. And we divide by 3. And m is equal to, let's see, 5.7 divided by 3 is 1.9. And then on this next one, we have to combine like terms. So a 4x plus an x is 5x plus 10 is equal to 100. Subtract 10, and 5x is equal to 90. Divide by 5 on each side, and 90 divided by 5 is going to equal 18. And lastly, combine like terms once again. 7x minus x is 6x minus 12 equals 24. Add 12 to each side and we get 6x is equal to 36. Divide by 6, so x equals 6. Okay. And last one here. There's a lot of different ways to go about solving a problem, but this is a really good order to do it. So if I have 3x minus 5 equals 8 minus the quantity 1 minus x, the first thing I must do is distribute. We need to take that negative sign. You can think about it as a -1 or a subtraction sign, but I need to distribute it to everything in the parentheses. Then I get 3x minus 5 equals 8 minus 1 plus x. From there, I need to combine like terms on the right side to get 7 plus x on the right side. Now I need to start moving my numbers to one side, move my variables to the other, so I'm going to add 5 to each side. Once I have that, I get 3x equals 12 plus x. I need to move my variables to the other side, so I'm going to move the x. So I subtract x from each side, and I end up with 2x equals 12. I divide by 2, and I get x equals 6. This is a more complex problem that you can work through and see why these steps work. But this is what we're going to do for multi-step equations. Well, I hope this is helpful for your homework and for studying.